You are listening now, and that alone tells you something subtle is already happening, not because anything dramatic has occurred, but because attention has settled, not sharply, not urgently, just enough to notice that something is being observed. Most people assume that observation is passive, that to observe is to stand back, detached, uninvolved. But if you pay close attention, you'll notice that observation always carries weight, not force, not intention, weight, like a presence in a room that doesn't speak, yet changes how people behave. This is where many misunderstand the idea of observers. Observers don't interfere, they don't step in, they don't push outcomes, and yet responses still happen. Not because someone decided to act, but because systems respond naturally to being seen. You've experienced this before, even if you never named it, a moment where you became aware of a pattern in your thinking, and without trying to change it, it softened, or a habit that lost momentum once you noticed it clearly. No effort, no strategy, just awareness. That wasn't intervention, that was response. You don't need to be special for this to occur. It doesn't mean you're more aware than others, or more advanced or ahead in any hidden way. It simply means you were present long enough for something subtle to register. And presence, even in small amounts, has consequences. Consider how measurement works in simple systems. When something is measured, it doesn't change because the measuring device wants it to. It changes because interaction is unavoidable. Observation introduces context. Context alters behavior, not magically, mechanically. When a system knows it is being observed, even in the most minimal sense, it adjusts, sometimes imperceptibly, sometimes slowly, but it adjusts nonetheless. Human awareness works the same way. You don't have to fix yourself. You don't have to correct your thoughts. You don't have to improve your state. The moment you notice, without judgment, a response has already begun. Not the response you might expect, not a clean resolution. Often something quieter, a pause, a slight hesitation where there used to be momentum. This is why observers don't interfere. Interference assumes force. Observation relies on clarity, and clarity does not command change. It invites response. Think about how people behave when they believe no one is watching. Now compare that to how behavior shifts when attention enters the space. Not accusation, not pressure, just attention. Something adjusts, not because someone demanded it, but because awareness reshapes the field. The same thing happens internally. When you observe your reactions without labeling them as good or bad, those reactions begin to reorganize. When you notice tension without trying to release it, it often loosens. When you become aware of a thought pattern without chasing it, it tends to complete itself and move on. This is not control, it's coherence. Most teachings fail here because they confuse response with reward. They promise outcomes. They suggest that awareness leads to specific results. It doesn't, it leads to responsiveness. And responsiveness is unpredictable, subtle, and deeply personal. Sometimes the response is clarity, sometimes it's discomfort, sometimes it's nothing noticeable at all, until later, when you realize something no longer holds the same grip. Observers understand this. They don't watch to change things. They watch because watching is already participation. If you've ever felt that simply noticing, something altered it. You weren't imagining it. You also weren't causing it. You were part of a system doing what systems naturally do when awareness enters. This is why trying too hard breaks the effect. The moment observation turns into effort, it becomes interference. The moment awareness becomes a tool, it loses its neutrality. And systems respond differently to pressure than they do to presence. Presence is light, pressure is heavy. You might notice this when you try to monitor your own thoughts. If you strain, thoughts multiply. If you relax and observe, they slow. Not because you silence them, but because they no longer need to perform. Performance only exists when there's something to prove. Pure observation removes the audience and leaves only awareness. And awareness doesn't judge. You are not here to reach a conclusion. Not now. Not by the end of this. Understanding isn't meant to arrive fully formed. If it did, it would close the loop too quickly. Instead, you may notice fragments connecting, ideas hovering without locking into place. That's intentional, not by design but by nature. Systems reveal themselves gradually. If you expect a final answer, you'll miss the response happening quietly in the background. If you allow uncertainty, you stay aligned with observation rather than outcome, and that alignment matters more than resolution. Notice how even now, as you listen, there's no instruction being given, nothing you're told to do, and yet something may already be shifting, not in a dramatic way, but in how you're relating to your own attention. That's the response. Observers don't interfere because interference assumes separation. Observation assumes connection, and connection doesn't need force, it only needs continuity. If you stay with ideas like this, not obsessively, not searching for meaning, just returning occasionally, you may find that your understanding deepens without effort. Not because you worked on it, but because you allowed it to stay incomplete. Incomplete understanding keeps awareness open, and open awareness continues to respond. If this way of observing feels familiar, you can stay connected to it here, not for answers, but for perspective. You don't have to subscribe, you don't have to commit. Just notice whether returning feels natural, and if it does, you'll know why. Without needing it explained,